I mean, it's difficult because there's so many different definitions of patriarchy. The simplest one is just rule by men, a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. Another one, patriarchy is a social system in which men dominate over others, but can also refer to dominance over women specifically. It can also extend to a variety of manifestations in which men have social privileges over others to cause exploitation or oppression. Okay, how about this? Do you think women are oppressed?
Do I think women are oppressed currently in today's day and age? Not by the patriarchy, no.
By what?
From that definition, do I think that men are ruling over women right now? No.
Okay, so women are not oppressed then?
Oppressed? I don't think I'd use the word oppressed. No.
They're what?
I think women experience discrimination.
Do men experience discrimination?
Probably, yeah.
At similar rates as women?
No.
Women have it worse?
Yes.
Do men have more privileges than women?
Today, not much. Not much privileges.
There's no male privilege?
No.
As compared to female privilege?
No, I'm not saying that there's definitely privileges that male have that females have. Like, there's male privileges that females don't have, and there's female privileges that men don't have.
Okay. But you said that women, was the word oppressed, or did we not use that word?
I would say women are discriminated against.
Women are discriminated against, more so than men.
Yes.
I think that's what it was.
Yes.
How so?
Just in general, more so than men. I'm not going to give a million examples, but if you're going to ask me who experiences more discrimination, I would say women.
Who's more likely to go to college?
No clue.
No idea?
No.
If I told you it was women, would you believe me?
Yeah, but going to college, that doesn't have anything to do with anything.
That's not a privilege.
But you get into college because of your grades that you get in high school.
And then
If I applied to colleges, you know what I would get into? Not shit, because I got bad grades. They're not going to let me in because I'm a woman.
They're more likely to.
I don't think they are.
It really does depend on the grades.
It depends on your grades and what you have on your transcript.
Of course your grades matter.
And they're not going to see the profile that I'm a woman, but I had a really shitty GPA, but I'm a girl.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you're going to, get the green light immediately.
Yeah, no.
In any case, women are more likely to go to university. They're more likely to graduate from university, more likely to get college diploma.
Well, good for women then, because that has nothing to do with their privilege.
How is that not a privilege?
Because you get into college due to your grades that you worked for. You graduate college because you worked throughout college.
But what is happening in society that is either pushing men away from university, or we're seeing less enrollment of men in university?
If they're not enrolling, that's their choice.
So if women get paid less than men, it's also women's choice?
No. You're just so wrong. Those are two completely different things.
Oh, but so whenever something is, hold on. Let me hold on. So whenever there is something that disproportionately negatively impacts men, it's because of men's choices. But if something negatively disproportionately impacts women, it's because of sexism, patriarchy, so forth?
No, because your two examples. When you go to college, nobody makes you go to college. You apply to college, you get into college because of your grades. What you get paid is determined by your boss and your managers. So those are two completely different things.
You don't believe in the pay gap between men and women then?
When did I say that?
I'm asking if you...
Do I believe in the pay gap?
Do you believe that there's a pay gap between men, the gender pay gap?
From my experience in jobs that I have had, no, because I've never worked in corporate or anything.
Right, but you've heard of it, right?
I've definitely heard of it.
In fact, Kamala recently actually repeated this falsehood that there's I think she said 80 cents on the dollar to a man, 82 cents on the dollar. So repeated the myth, but do you believe it exists?
I believe that it exists because typically if, let's say, for example, the man in charge of the company is sexist, because not every man is sexist, but let's say he is. He's going to hire a woman and a man for the same job, but because he is sexist, he believes that women are not as smart.
Oh, hold on.
Lol Paladins donated $69.69. Maybe she doesn't realize that a bunch of schools just got sued and their case went all the way to the Supreme Court because they were discriminating against Asians and whites and men. Harvard. UNC.
Yep, Harvard. I think Yale too. A lot of the Ivy Leagues. Significant discrimination against Asian students. Significant. So. Yeah.
What's the discrimination? I have not heard about that.
That essentially Asian students had to score way higher on like SATs and these sorts of tests in order to get accepted as compared to other racial groups.
Because there were too many Asians.
Yeah, so they were essentially discriminating against Asians. But so back to the conversation you were saying.
I got lost. I can't remember what I was saying. Every
If a
time one of
man-
those
Okay, we're
comes
talking-
in, I like forget what I was talking
We were talking about the gender wage gap. You're saying if the boss is sexist.
Oh, okay. So, in the situation that the boss is sexist and he has the mindset that women are not as smart as men, because a lot of sexist men do have that mindset, then he's going to think, well, she doesn't deserve the equal pay because he is more qualified, so he's going to pay her less. That's in a world where he is sexist. Not all bosses are sexist. That doesn't happen everywhere. But does that happen? Yes.
Couldn't I just say the same thing? Most HR departments which handle hiring are made up of women. So women are.
Women can be sexist too in those scenarios.
Also, if it was the case that there actually was a gender pay gap, people are in business to make money. You could just hire, your entire workforce could be women. You could save 25% on labor costs. You can outcompete your competitors, lower your prices, get more market share simply by hiring just women. But it's just not the case. It's totally been debunked. There is no gender pay gap.
So you don't think that the scenario that I just described, you don't think that's ever happened?
Oh, yeah, there's sexist men, sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. There's sexist men, there's sexist women.
So you
These
don't
men,
think that
sure,
maybe a
there's-
man paid a woman less, he employs two people, same role, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't think that if he's sexist that maybe he pays her less because he believes she deserves less because she doesn't have as much qualifications just because she's a woman?
Well, does she actually have less qualifications?
No. Same qualifications, but a lot of men
If the woman
will-
can prove it, she could bring a lawsuit against him.
Yeah, she could.
She
But
could.
you're telling me you don't think that that has ever happened and that the pay gap
Sure.
doesn't exist.
It's totally happened.
Okay, so there you go. There's a pay gap.
Well, no.
Because of sex, there's a pay gap. You just agreed with me.
Right, but then here's the rebuttal. There are women who are also sexist and who have a preference for hiring other women, and they exclude men from their own hiring practices, so it just equal out.
Okay, but your argument is,
Are there as
do
many
women
women
get paid
bosses?
less? And that's what we're talking about. And
I'm
that's what
addressing your argument perfectly. I can say the same thing about women.
But that's not what the argument's about.
Hold on. Yes, it's totally
no, the
relevant.
main argument
It's totally
is,
relevant.
do women get paid less? Nobody's talking about men getting paid less. When you bring up the wage gap,
Okay,
you bring up the wage
you
gap, what do you think? Oh, the argument is women are getting less money.
But you're saying, well, because there are some sexist men that is evidence of the wage gap. But then I could just say, well, let's assume that there's an equal amount of sexist women. So it would just the sexism would just cancel out.
Okay, but that assumption is also kind of inaccurate because
Why is it inaccurate? Women are way more sexist.
women are more sexist
Than
than
men.
men.
Wait,
Yep.
can I ask you a question? Like, what is an example of a man being sexist that you could give?
What is an example of a man
Yeah.
being... related to the pay gap thing?
Just anything.
What's an example of a man being sexist? An example, okay, a man just outright refused to hire women. I suppose that would be sexist
Okay.
because they're women.
Okay.
I suppose that would be sexist, yeah.
Okay.
But it would also be sexist if women refused to hire men, so.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Can I say a personal experience
Sure.
that I've had that relates to this? So I was When I was 16 years old, I was hired as a general manager of a Domino's and by a woman. And I was working there, and she refused to pay me as much as the general manager she had before that. And then they moved a man in, and this is going to get kind of iffy, but I was 16 years old, like I said, and the man told me he was going to take my job unless I sent him nude photographs. And also, that woman that hired me had his back and said that I would be fired if I didn't agree to whatever he said.
Girl, I hope you sued.
I didn't know. I was too young. I didn't know to tell anyone about that. But they were both in it together. They were both sexist against women.
That's
Yeah.
fucking.
I know that goes a little bit against of what Brian's saying, but at the same time, they were both being sexist and also not paying me enough. They were paying me $10 an hour to be the general manager